Hi there, I'm Geoffrey Gorman. We're at the James Sauer Gallery on Canyon Road in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'm going to give you a brief tour of my show, Animology. And actually what animology means is, it means the study and documentation of animal societies showing advanced cultural complications. So I came up with that word, and that's what I believe these figures are about. What I've done this year for this show is I've got a couple of different groupings or bodies of work that I'm going to talk to you about. This body of work, I'd say, is maybe more traditional, where I've bundled the sticks together. I do a lot of dogs. Here's kind of the leader of the pack, the alpha dog that's come into the meadow, and he's signaling people that it's clear, his other pack, that it's clear and he can come in. I recently did this antelope. And if you study antelopes at all, sometimes when they bound up in the air, all 4 feet are off the ground, so this guy's kind of caught right in mid-bounding there. Also, the first cow I've ever done, this one is obviously an award winner, you can see from the tag on his ear. This is based on those 18th century paintings that I used to see. People would get portraits of their award-winning cows. So I figured this guy was an award winner and he deserved to have a sculpture made of him. And then finally over here is one of my rabbits. I probably do, mostly I do a lot of rabbits, and I think of rabbits as the tricksters of the art world, the ones that are really causing the trouble when we're not looking. Another series I've done for the show is based on the political cartoons of Henri Daumier, who was the political cartoonist from the late 1800s in Paris, who was so controversial that in fact he got thrown into prison for some of his comics and his satires of the politicians. But I figured that animals are probably just as political and just satirical as human beings are. And some of this piece right here, you can see, I think of this as 2 priest ducks talking about the big question right here. And then up here is 2 rabbits, and they're looking up in the sky, and this little rabbit here is thinking about things, and he goes, "Boy, that cloud looks like a coyote." And then when I was in Alaska, I spent some time with some river otters. I was lucky enough, so here's a portrait of 2 river otters together, just kind of talking about life. Another series that I did for the show, this white series, was based, I was briefly ill this winter and ended up in the hospital, and I had these visitors that would visit me every night in my hospital room, and there were animals, there were white animals, and they would come in and they would gather all around my bed, so these guys are really based on these very faint, kind of almost enigmatic forms that came and visited me. You can see there's a red fox right here. Here's a little raccoon that's after a crayfish, river otter here, and then there's this little white squirrel that's got this T-square that he's trying to figure out actually how to use. So this was just something I kind of just did on a whimsy based on a little funny experience. I've been working with lead through the years, and I did these pieces for the show. This is lead, which to me has a ceramic feel to it. Sometimes it almost feels like a clay, the surface that you get with it. I did this mountain lion head, and I think of him as kind of maybe an artifact that you may have dug up in an old field, like a Roman artifact where everything is gone but the head. And then I love these 2. I've done this series in a couple of different materials. I love the kind of duality of the personality, the really outward going and then the really introspective. And I think of this couple as maybe different, but they're definitely hooked together here. As many of you know from looking at my other videos, I grew up on an old farm, and my father raised chickens. And one of my jobs as a little kid was to go in and get the eggs. And what these chickens and this rooster, what they would do is they would get me in the corner and they would attack me. They would throw themselves at me. It was a horrible experience. But I think of these as maybe 2 of those creatures that maybe they attack me, I don't know, but they're sure having a good time kind of preening around, showing us their feathers and showing us how beautiful they are. The final piece in this series I did, the last 2, is I refer to them as the Spaniards because as I built them and I used these car tires, they took on this really formal quality, almost like an ambassador or something like that. You've got the cat, And then you've got the dog, and the dog is saying to the cat, as they walk into this party, he's saying, "Do you think they'll notice I was in a duel? It only hurts a little bit." And if you look at him closely, you can see that there's a bullet hole through his ear.